Hi guys, this is Paul with Tweaktown. We're back here at Storage Visions 2015 and we're sitting down with Chris Pross, the Chief Technology Officer at DriveSavers. And DriveSavers always has a real big presence at these storage conferences and shows, which really keeps you guys really close to the storage vendors and partners and things of that nature. And I understand that you were on a panel. Can you tell us a little bit about the panel you were on today?
Sure. Well, first of all, Paul, always a pleasure to talk to you guys. Your readers are people who need to know about what we do in the Data Recovery Lab, and we appreciate the opportunity to share what we're up to. And at Storage Visions this year, the show theme was Swing, Storage with Intense Network Growth. And what we spoke about on our panel yesterday, which is a panel on protecting, finding, and recovering data, was about the challenges that we face in the lab moving forward with high-capacity drives. And high capacity, I'm defining that as things larger than 4 terabytes, using either helium technology, SMR, or any of the other high-density technologies that are getting us to 6, 8, 10 terabytes per 3.5-inch disk.
And that presents a lot of unique challenges, especially when you're dealing with RAID arrays, because there's a much higher chance with large capacity volumes that people will experience data loss or failure during rebuilds, correct?
Well, not only during rebuilds, I think that the general public would probably be surprised to know how much data recovery we do from redundant arrays. It seems a little ironic that so many redundant arrays require recovery, but RAID 5 and RAID 6 are only fault tolerant to a point. And regardless if you're using small drives or large drives, we do know that all drives will fail at some point. So when we experience drive failure using higher capacity drives, there are some significant challenges. One, of course, is that the time to rebuild, as you refer to, is much larger, and that rebuild window is a very vulnerable period when other problems can happen when a RAID is in that compromised state. In addition, in the laboratory, we know that the time to image a drive has increased significantly. On a 6 terabyte helium SATA interface, it can take 8 or 9 hours on a clean drive to image it. Think about if that drive has media damage or a head crash or has another physical failure. So we need to deliver on the SLAs for our customers who require data recovery quickly. So optimizing processes and methods in the lab as we encounter these new drives is really important to make sure our customers are taken care of.
And you definitely always have to innovate, especially in data recovery, because even as we're looking at some of these excessive RAID rebuild times, a lot of companies and integrators are moving away from RAID for that particular reason and using software layers and new things such as object storage. And you have to deal with these new layers of software. How are you guys working to combat those problems?
Sure. In fact, quite a few of the presentations at the show here from Quantum and some of our other friends are talking exactly about how they're moving to object-based storage models and how it really works well in a workflow and away from some of the traditional RAID technologies. We're also seeing a rebirth of ZFS out in the field.
Very resilient.
Absolutely. Very resilient to a point. And we're getting requests for data recovery. In fact, we're now tracking the number of ZFS recoveries in the lab this year, and it's up significantly. So even a self-healing file system that is almost the holy grail in this environment needs attention, when data goes down or when multiple drives fail. So we know that we have to tool up for not only these different software layer technologies, but down at the physical layer as well, so that no matter who the customer is, we can deliver the results they need in the time they request.
And with the physical layer, we're seeing this move to new SMR drives because they can overlap tracks onto platters and gain more density, but that creates a whole new set of problems. And how are you guys looking at preparing for dealing with the inevitability of SMR drive failure?
Sure. So with SMR technology, there's been another added layer of logic to the hard drive that didn't used to exist. And that's where a lot of the complexity will be, in managing how the writes and the translation layer works between the non-shingled and the shingled tracks. So we'll be dealing with traditional hardware failures, as we assume. That would be head-to-disk interface contact or component failure. But then on top of that, we have to deal with the fact that the density on these devices is so tight that any one crash takes out more real estate than it used to, and therefore
a lot more data is affected.
Absolutely. Add to that the fact that if any of those translation layers are corrupted, we may have difficulty actually getting to the physical layer where the data exists. We know Seagate is evangelizing very hard about SMR technology. We know that HGST will be using it in, I believe, the 8 and the 10 terabyte helium drives. So not only will we be challenged with helium as a technology, helium and SMR in the same device, and then they're going to bring HAMR in the near future.
Oh yes,
and
with lasers.
We'll be talking about that one next year.
Yeah, and you know, over in the booth, you guys have a picture of a catastrophic drive failure, and we'll embed the image down below of where it's actually, the head has crashed and it's actually just physically destroyed the platter. Even after a scenario such as that, if you use the service, the DriveSavers service, one of the big key points is the user can return the drive after you're done recovering data, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's really important for users to know that DriveSavers provides warranty coverage on any device that is still in warranty from the manufacturer, that if we need to disassemble it and service in our lab, the warranty will still be honored when you return the device for RMA.
And that's because the actual companies that manufactured these devices have certified you to provide these types of services, correct?
They've not only certified us, they inspect our laboratory that you've seen in the past.
Yep.
They make sure that DriveSavers sets the bar very high, not only for what we do on the hardware level to make sure that we're sticking to their rules, but on the customer level, and we measure that as customer satisfaction.
Yep, and there's just so many pieces to the data recovery puzzle, and DriveSavers has all of them in place. We actually had a great chance to come through to the DriveSavers lab and take a close look, and it's actually pretty fascinating in some of the processes involved and some of the reasons behind data recovery incidents. So we'll embed a link in the article that you guys can see that other article, our supplemental article. And Chris, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Paul, it's a pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you very much.